Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tessie and today we'll be making this requested video. Somebody asked me to make this dress and my clients wanted it, funny enough. If you're yet to subscribe, kindly do that and let's get right into the video. On the starting point, I'll be taking my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So my shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2 is 7.5. So on that point, I'll come down to my armhole line, which is 8 inches. I went ahead to connect the lines. So what I'll do next is chalk from the shoulder to my bust point. So from my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches. And from my shoulder to my under bust is 13 inches, and from the shoulder to the half length is 16 inches. So I went ahead to chalk my lines and I connected it into a straight line. After doing that, I indicated my lines as you can see. So what I'll be doing next is at the shoulder area, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. So I'll go ahead now to connect it up. So I'll check what I have at that chest line area. So I placed my tape and checked I have 7 inches divided by 2 will give me 3.5, and on that line I'll be coming in by half an inch. So after doing that, I'm just going to curve in my armhole. So the next thing to do is to determine how off you want the bustier to be. So for me, I will be taking 6 inches off. So from that shoulder point, I chalked 6 inches as you can see. After doing that, I'm just going to connect it into a straight line. So what I'll do next is chalk my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, and whatever you have, you add half an inch to it. So my nipple to nipple divided by 2 is 3.5. I added half an inch to it, that's 4 inches. So I'll be chalking 4 inches all the way down to the waistline. Then I connected it into a straight line. So what I'll be doing next is placing my darts. On the underboss, I'll be using 1 inch on both sides. So on this side of the pattern, I'll be chalking 1 inch on this side of the pattern and also chalk 1 inch on this other side. After doing that, I went ahead to connect it into a straight line. So what I'll do next is at the bust point area, I'll come down by half an inch and go up by half an inch. This is to eliminate pointiness at that bust point area. So I'm just going to come down by half an inch, as you can see, and I'll be going up by half an inch. After doing that, I'm just going to connect my dart to that half an inch I came down at using my curve ruler. So after doing that, on this new neckline, I'll be coming in by 1 inch on both sides. So as you can see, I came in by 1 inch on both sides. So what I'll do now is connect it all the way down to this half an inch that we came up at. So what I did next was to tick out my dart. So now I'll be placing my measurement and replacing back the dart I took. So on the chest line, I'll place my bust measurement divided by 4. So my bust divided by 4 will give me 8.5. I'll replace back this 2 inches that we took. I'm going to place it on that chest line area, and I'll be adding extra 2 inches for my sewing allowance. After doing that, I'm going to connect the line to the bust point line, as you can see. So what I'll do next is on the underbust, I'll place my underbust measurement divided by 4. So my underbust divided by 4 will give me 6.5. So I'll replace back these 2 inches that we took. As you can see, I'm just going to place it back, and I'll be adding extra 2 inches for sewing allowance. So on the waistline, I'll place my waist measurement divided by 4. My waist divided by 4 will give me 6.5. I'll replace back this 2 inches that we took, and I'll be adding extra 2 inches for sewing allowance. So after doing that, I'm just going to connect my lines together. So after doing that, I'm just going to be giving this part a sweetheart shape. So from this point, you can determine how deep you want it to be. So for me, I'm just going to come down by 1.5. Then I'm just going to curve in my neckline, as you can see. So this is what I have. I'm going to be cutting out my pattern. So guys, this is what the front part looks like. For the back, I folded my pattern paper into two. I'll be adding zip to this. So on the starting point, I'm just going to be chalking 2 inches all the way down, and I connected it, and I'll indicate this as my zip allowance. So what I'll do next is on the starting point, I'll be taking my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 7.5. And I came down to my armhole line at 8 inches. I went ahead to connect my lines. So what I'll do next is chalk from the shoulder to the half length. So after doing that, I connected it into a straight line, and I went ahead to indicate my lines. So on the shoulder line, I'll be coming down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then I went ahead to connect it. So now I'll be taking 6 inches off for the back as well. So from the shoulder, I'll just chalk 6 inches. So as you can see, I placed my tape on the shoulder, I chalk 6 inches, and I'm just going to connect it into a straight line. What I'll do next is check what I have on the chest line area. I have 7 inches divided by 2 will give me 3.5, and I'm just going to curve out my back armhole. So guys, what I'll do next is chalk my nipple to nipple divided by 2 and add half an inch to it. So as you can see, I have 4 inches. I'm just going to chalk it and connect it into a straight line. Then on the waist area, I'll be taking my dart. So I'll be taking half an inch on both sides. Then I'll go ahead to connect it all the way up. So after doing that, I'll be placing my measurement and replacing back the dart. So on the chest line, I'll place my bust measurement divided by 4. So my bust divided by 4 will give me 8.5. I added 2 inches for sewing allowance. And on the waistline, I'll place my waist measurement, and I'll be dividing it by 4. So my waist divided by 4 is 6.5. I'll replace back this half an inch that we took, that's 1 inch. And I'll be adding extra 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So after doing all of this, I'm just going to connect my lines together. So guys, after doing that, what I'll do next is take out this part. So I'm just going to take out that part. So now I don't want my back straight. I don't want it straight. I want it a bit down and curvy. So what I'll do is from this point, I'm just going to connect it all the way down to the chest line. You can leave yours straight. It all depends on how you want your back to be. So after connecting it this way, this is what I have for my back, as you can see. So now I'm just going to be taking this side off. Then I'll cut out my pattern. So this is what we have. Now to eliminate zip bulge, what I'll do is at the zip allowance area, I'll be coming in on that waistline by 0.75. So as you can see, I came in by 0.75. What I'll do is just slant it all the way up. So just slant it to wherever it can get to, as you can see. So this is what I have. So what I'll do next is cut out my pattern. So after cutting out my pattern, this is what I have. As you can see, I have 2 pieces for the back. This is what it looks like. So I'll be using this Ankara. I have 3 yards. So I've gone ahead to cut out my pattern, as you can see, and I also went ahead to cut out the down part, that's the skirt part of the dress. So what I'll do next is add my wadding and my paper stay to my fabric. So guys, I have a detailed video on how to perfectly pad your bustier. So I'll drop the link on the description box. You need to check that out. So as you can see, I'm just adding my wording to my fabric and also added my paper stay. I'll go ahead now to iron, and I'll also do the same thing for the other part as well. So after doing all of that, this is what I have. I'm just going to place it together and stitch half an inch all the way down. So guys, after doing that, this is what I have. As you can see, my bustier is standing perfectly. I also went ahead to join my lining pieces together. So what I'll be doing next is joining the top part and the down part together. I'll be stitching by half an inch. After doing that, I'll also join the lining together. I'll stitch by half an inch as well. So for the back part of my dress, as you can see, I've joined my darts, and what I'll do next is join the top part and the down part together. So I'm just going to place my fabric this way and stitch by half an inch all the way down. I'll do the same thing for the other side as well, and I'll also do the same thing for my lining pieces. So after doing that, this is what I have. As you can see, I also did the same thing for the lining. So what I'll do next is cut out my strap. Now, for my straps, I have 13 inches for each. You know, we took out 6 inches on the front pattern and also 6 at the back, total of 12 inches, and I added 1 inch for joining allowance. So now, before stitching and turning it out, inside out, I'll be attaching pleats to it. So you can see the picture on the screen. There's pleats on the straps. So now the pleat didn't start from this end. It started like 2 inches before the end of the fabric. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So from this end, I'll be coming in by, let's say, 2.5 inches. So I'll be coming in by 2.5 inches on both ends. So after coming in by 2.5 inch, I'm just going to open it up, and I'm going to be chalking that 2.5 inch on this part so that you can see. So I will be pleating from this part to this part. So now for the pleats, I've cut out my fabric and I have 9 inches. On fold, I have 4.5. I'll be using half an inch to stitch. So what I'll do next is stitch from this part all the way down to the fabric end. After doing that, I'm going to be pleating. So I'll be doing a box pleat. So I'll be chalking 2 inches on the fabric. So just go ahead, chalk 2 inches on the fabric. So I'm chalking to 2 inches. So what I'll do next is take the second line and place it on the first line. Just watch what I'm doing. Then I will pin it down. Now I'll take this first line, I'll leave the second line and place it at the third line. As you can see. Then I'll pin it down with my pin. Then what I'll do next is take this and bring it back to this part. It's very simple. After doing that, I'll go ahead now to pin it down. Then I'll take the next line, leave the second and place it at the third line. Then I'll pin it down. Then I'll bring this back to this point. Then I'll take this, leave this and bring it back. It is very simple. If you watch, you can just go back and watch this part again. You get it. It's a box split. So now make sure you are checking if you have your 8 inches, because where we are pleating to stops at 8. So I have my 8 inch. So I'm just going to cut it out. But when you're cutting, leave small allowance. Then after leaving the allowance, fold it in just the way I did. And what I'll do next is pin that part. So after pinning it down, I went ahead to do the other side. So I have my 2 pleats ready. So what we'll do now is, you know, on the straps we chalked 8 inches. So what I'll do is place my pleated fabric on that line. After placing it, I'm just going to run a stitch all the way down, and after running that stitch, fold your pleated fabric inside. So after folding
And
it, just try and take the main fabric, place it this way, then you run a stitch. It will not be easy, but you just have to take your time, run that stitch all the way down. Then after doing that, you're going to turn it out. You do the same thing for this side as well. You place this splitted part in, then you wrap it just the way I did, and I'm going to be stitching all the way down, then I'll turn it out. So guys, after doing that, as you can see, I'm just trying to turn it out. So take your time, turn it out, and after you must have turned it out, go ahead, iron it, and you're good to go. So this is what it looks like. We'll be attaching it on our dress now. So what I'll do now is take one of the straps. I'm just going to be placing it 1 inch after the dart leg, just 1 inch after my dart. So I will stitch, and I'll place the other one and stitch as well. So I'll go ahead now to stitch. After stitching it together, this is what I have. So what I'll do next is just place my lining pieces on the main fabric and run a stitch all the way down to the armhole. So after stitching the dress with the lining, this is what it looks like for the front. So what we'll do next is work on the back. So for my back, you can see I've joined the skirt part and the half length together. So what we'll do next is place the front this way, and on the back dart, I'm just going to place the straps on that back dart, place it there, then I'll place the other one this way as well, then I'll stitch 1/2 inch on that straps. After stitching, I'm just going to flip it, add my lining to the back, and run a stitch. So I'm just going to stitch it. After stitching, this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to join my zip allowance area for now. Then I'm going to pin my fabric together. After pinning, I'm just going to shape. So guys, after shaping, this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to attach my zip to the dress, as you can see. So guys, this is the final result of the dress. This dress is very small. It can't fit into my mannequin, and my client is not here to try it on. But I hope this tutorial was helpful. Please make sure you like the video, drop a comment, follow me on Instagram, on TikTok at So We Test, and I will see you guys in the next class. For now, I'll say bye.